If you're over 65, there's a very good chance you've been told that walking is the best exercise for you. And don't get me wrong, walking is great. But what if I told you that surgeons, physical therapists, and longevity experts agree on something surprising? There are actually 3 exercises that can outperform walking for improving strength, balance, mobility, and keeping you independent for years longer. And most people over 65 have either never been taught these or they're doing the wrong versions. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what these exercises are, why they're more powerful than walking, and how to safely perform them even if you feel stiff, unfit, or have joint issues.
Most people over 65 rely on walking because it feels natural, safe, and familiar, something they've done their whole lives without needing instructions or special equipment. It's almost automatic to assume that if you're aging and you want to stay healthy, you just walk more. And yes, walking is absolutely helpful for circulation, maintaining daily movement, and keeping the joints warm. But here's the part that often gets overlooked. Walking alone doesn't build the deeper strength, balance, or stability that actually keeps someone independent as the years go by. Independence isn't just about being able to move from one place to another. It's about being able to get up from a chair confidently, climb stairs without hesitation, carry groceries without straining, pick something off the floor without worrying about falling, and trust your body to respond quickly if you slip or stumble. Walking doesn't train the muscles involved in these tasks strongly enough, and that's where the gap begins to show. As you move past 65, the body doesn't maintain muscle the way it used to. Even if you walk daily, the legs aren't being challenged to push, lift, or stabilize under load. The hips aren't being trained through a full range of motion. The core isn't being engaged deeply enough to support the spine during sudden movements. And the balance systems in the body need more than just the repetitive forward motion of walking to stay sharp. Walking is predictable. Your body gets used to it quickly. Without new challenges, the muscles simply maintain the bare minimum needed for that specific movement. Over time, this means that while someone who walks daily may feel active, they might still lose strength in the areas that matter most for staying functional and independent. This is why so many people who walk regularly are shocked when they suddenly struggle with getting out of a low seat, stepping into a car, or bending down to tie their shoes. They assume that because they stay active, these tasks should remain simple. But the body adapts only to what it is repeatedly asked to do. Walking doesn't mimic real-life movements that require rising against gravity, shifting weight side to side, stabilizing through uneven surfaces, or catching yourself from a loss of balance. Independence in older age is directly tied to how well you can control your body during those unpredictable situations, not just how long you can walk in a straight line on flat ground. Yet walking is often treated as the complete solution when it's really just one small part of what the body needs. Another reason walking gets over-relied on is because it feels safe. Many over 65 fear that anything heavier, stronger, or more challenging might lead to injury. But ironically, the lack of strength is what leads to injuries far more often than the exercises themselves. When the muscles around the knees weaken, the joints take more stress. When the hips lose strength, balance suffers. When the core isn't trained deeply enough, even simple twisting movements can cause back pain. Walking doesn't train these stabilizers in the way they must be trained to keep your joints safe as you age. The assumption that walking is the safest exercise can actually be misleading because it gives a sense of being active while the body continues to weaken quietly behind the scenes. People often don't realize this until they experience a setback like a fall, a sudden knee issue, or a doctor telling them their muscles have noticeably deteriorated. Many surgeons and physical therapists see this every day. Older adults who walked regularly but didn't train the specific muscle groups that protect the hips, knees, and spine. The result is preventable injuries, decreased mobility, and a loss of independence that catches people off guard. Walking maintains movement, but doesn't build reserves, and the body needs reserves, extra strength, extra balance, extra stability to face the challenges of aging. What truly keeps someone independent is the ability to generate force from the legs, stabilize the core, and maintain balance when the body shifts unexpectedly. Walking doesn't demand enough of this type of strength. It's a steady rhythm that the body adapts to quickly. Over time, it becomes easier, not because you're getting stronger, but because the body has grown efficient at a simple, repetitive movement. Efficiency doesn't equal strength. You can walk every day and still lose muscle, still weaken in key areas, and still struggle with daily tasks that require functional strength rather than endurance. Another point people overlook is that walking doesn't strengthen the upper body at all. Independence isn't only about legs. It's about being able to lift yourself out of bed, support yourself as you get up from the floor, hold on to railings safely, carry things, and protect the spine during unexpected movements. None of that is trained during walking. Without upper body and core strength, a person might walk comfortably for miles, but still feel helpless trying to push themselves up after a fall or pull themselves into a standing position without assistance. Independence disappears not because someone can't walk, but because they can't perform the strength-based actions that daily life quietly demands over and over. All of this doesn't mean walking should be eliminated. It means walking shouldn't be the entire plan. It's useful but incomplete. Relying on it as the main exercise creates a false sense of security, while the muscles responsible for real independence, leg strength, balance control, hip stability, core support, gradually decline. True aging fitness isn't just about keeping the body moving. It's about keeping the body capable. And capability comes from the kind of strength and stability that walking alone cannot provide. If you want the next keynote expanded, just say the number.
Muscle loss after 65 doesn't happen slowly or gently. It speeds up in a way most people don't realize until they feel weaker, slower, or more unsteady doing things that used to be effortless. This process, known as sarcopenia, starts creeping in long before someone notices it. You can be walking every day, moving around the house, doing errands, and still losing muscle beneath the surface because walking simply doesn't challenge the body enough to trigger muscle maintenance, let alone muscle growth. The body needs resistance, tension, and controlled strength work to preserve muscle fibers, and after 65, this becomes more important than ever. The harsh reality is that the body becomes far less efficient at holding on to muscle as the years go by. And without exercises that genuinely stimulate strength, those muscles shrink, weaken, and lose their ability to protect your joints and support your daily movements. Many people assume that because they remain active, sarcopenia won't affect them much. But activity and strength are not the same thing. Walking improves circulation and keeps the legs moving, but it doesn't load the muscles enough to stop the natural breakdown that happens with aging. The quadriceps, hamstrings, hips, and glutes gradually lose power unless they are specifically trained to resist gravity and handle force. That's why someone who walks every morning for years can still struggle when climbing stairs or getting off the floor. They're active, but they're not strong where it counts. Strength fades in the background, and you only notice it when daily tasks start feeling heavier or less stable than before. By that point, the muscle loss has already done damage. Another issue is that walking doesn't stimulate the fast-twitch muscle fibers responsible for balance, reaction time, and preventing falls. As you age, preserving these fibers is crucial because they're the ones that help you recover quickly if you slip or misstep. Once they weaken, simple surprises like a rug edge or uneven path can turn into a dangerous fall. And falls are one of the biggest threats to long-term independence for older adults. When the muscles are weak, the joints take more impact during a fall, making fractures far more likely. This is one of the reasons surgeons emphasize strengthening exercises over walking alone. They see the consequences of weak muscles every day in the hospital. Hip fractures, knee problems, back issues, many of which could have been prevented with stronger leg and core muscles. Walking also doesn't do enough for the hips, and the hips are the powerhouse of stability. Without strong hip muscles, every step becomes less supported, and the body begins compensating in ways that strain the knees, lower back, and ankles.
People often blame joint pain on aging, but in many cases, the pain comes from the supporting muscles weakening, leaving the joints exposed and overworked. Sarcopenia doesn't just make you weaker, it makes you less stable and more prone to pain. When muscles that support the joints shrink, the joints have to absorb forces they're not designed to handle. Over time, this leads to inflammation, stiffness, and sometimes the need for surgery. Another layer to this problem is that walking doesn't challenge your body in different planes of movement. It's a forward motion, over and over again. But real life requires stepping sideways, bending, twisting, rotating, lowering yourself, lifting yourself, and balancing on one leg. These movements demand strength from muscles that walking doesn't train. As muscle loss progresses, these neglected movement patterns become harder and less controlled. Many people notice this when they try to sit down slowly, rise from a low seat, step into a car, or reach for something leaning sideways. It's not that they've forgotten how to do these actions, it's that the muscles required have weakened quietly without them realizing it. This is also why walking doesn't protect the spine the way people assume. The core muscles that stabilize your lower back don't get stronger from walking. They're not challenged to hold, brace, or support against force. Weak core muscles mean more pressure on the discs and vertebrae, leading to back pain that feels like it came out of nowhere. But nothing appears out of nowhere. It's all part of the gradual weakening that sarcopenia brings. The sad part is that many people feel they're doing the right thing by walking regularly. Yet the very muscles that keep them functional are slipping away faster than they can maintain them with walking alone. What makes sarcopenia particularly dangerous is that the loss of muscle also leads to a loss of confidence. When you feel less steady on your feet, you naturally move less, avoid tasks that feel slightly challenging, and become anxious about activities you used to enjoy. This reduced movement accelerates even more muscle loss, creating a downward spiral that erodes mobility and independence. The truth is that muscle is the foundation of aging well, and without targeted strength work, that foundation slowly crumbles no matter how much someone walks. And here's one more thing most people never hear. When you're over 65, your body responds extremely well to strength work. Even small amounts of the right exercises can dramatically slow or even reverse sarcopenia. That's why experts emphasize strengthening over walking alone. Walking keeps you moving, but strength training keeps you capable. Capability is what matters most, because independence isn't about how far you can walk. It's about how strongly you can move through life's everyday tasks.
Surgeons see patterns that most people never notice because they're the ones treating the aftermath of weak muscles, poor balance, and joint instability every single day. When they say that many age-related injuries come from doing the wrong kind of exercise rather than simply doing too little, it's because they've watched countless patients who walked regularly, stayed active, and still ended up with hip fractures, knee problems, or back injuries that could have been avoided with better training. The problem isn't laziness or lack of effort, it's misunderstanding what the body truly needs after 65. Many people think anything that keeps them moving is good enough, but surgeons know that certain forms of activity can create imbalances, leave key muscles untrained, and give a false sense of security that hides underlying weakness. Walking is the clearest example of this. It feels productive, it burns some calories, and it keeps you moving. But surgeons repeatedly see that people who rely only on walking often lack the strength required to protect their joints during sudden movements, unexpected slips, or daily tasks that involve bending, rising, twisting, or supporting their own body weight. When the quadriceps are weak, the knees take more pressure. When the hips lack strength, the pelvis becomes unstable and affects balance. When the glutes weaken, the lower back works overtime. And when the core isn't trained properly, even simple bending or reaching can cause strains that escalate into more serious problems. Surgeons understand that most injuries happen not during exercise, but during routine life, and they can immediately tell which muscles were neglected long before the injury occurred. This is why they emphasize that doing the wrong type of exercise is sometimes worse than doing none. Because when a person thinks they're staying healthy, they don't realize their body is quietly losing the very strength that keeps them safe. Many older adults feel confident because they walk daily, garden, or stay busy, but activity without targeted strength training can still leave major weak spots. Surgeons frequently treat people who say, "I don't understand what happened, I stay active," yet the injury reveals clear signs of muscular imbalances and instability caused by years of relying on exercises that don't build strength where it matters most. Another issue surgeons point out is that exercises that seem harmless can become risky when the supporting muscles are weak. For example, someone might do long walks on uneven ground, or go up and down hills thinking it's good cardio, not realizing that their hips and knees lack the stabilization needed to handle the extra strain. The result can be swollen joints, irritated tendons, or small tears that grow worse over time. They might climb stairs as exercise, not knowing their legs don't have enough strength to handle the repetitive load safely. They might bend and twist doing chores, believing it keeps them flexible, while their core isn't strong enough to support the motion. What feels like good movement to them looks like a warning sign to surgeons who understand how muscle imbalance leads directly to injury. Surgeons also notice that many people do exercises that worked fine when they were younger, but become ineffective or risky as they age. A routine that kept someone fit in their 40s or 50s won't protect them the same way in their 60s or 70s because the body's needs change. After 65, muscles shrink faster, joints become more sensitive, and the nervous system becomes slower at reacting to slips and missteps. Surgeons know that without training the right muscles, especially the hips, core, legs, and stabilizers, injuries become far more likely even during simple movements. They understand the difference between movement that maintains activity and movement that actually strengthens the body. There's also the issue of overuse injuries caused by relying only on repetitive, low-difficulty activities. Walking uses the same muscles in the same way over and over again. This repetition creates efficiency, but not strength. Surgeons often see inflammation, tightness, and joint wear in people who walk a lot but never train the muscles needed to support that movement. It's like driving a car constantly without ever checking the engine. The motion continues, but the support system weakens. When a slip happens or a sudden step is required, the muscles that should stabilize the body just aren't there anymore. The result is an injury the person never saw coming. Surgeons also emphasize that the body must be prepared for unpredictable movements. Life is full of them. A sudden turn, a quick catch of balance, a need to squat down, a step sideways, a moment of imbalance on a slippery floor. These are the real tests of physical health. Walking doesn't prepare the body for these moments because it lacks variation, lateral movement, resistance, and core engagement. When someone encounters an unexpected scenario, the untrained muscles can't react fast enough or strong enough, leading to the kinds of injuries surgeons treat day after day. What surgeons wish more people understood is that staying active is not the same thing as staying strong. A person can walk 5 miles a day and still have dangerously weak glutes, poor core stability, and insufficient hip support. All major risk factors for falls and fractures. Many older adults assume strength training is unsafe or too intense, but surgeons know the opposite is true. Strength is what keeps the body stable, aligned, and protected. It's the lack of strength that leads to injuries, surgeries, and long-term mobility loss. When surgeons recommend exercises that outperform walking, it's because they're thinking ahead. They're thinking about how to prevent the emergency room visit, the fall, the fracture, the sudden back spasm, the knee that can't bear weight, or the hip replacement that could have been delayed or avoided. They've seen the consequences of ignoring muscle strength, and they've seen the incredible difference a few simple, targeted exercises can make for someone's long-term independence. They know that the right exercises help the body age in a controlled, supported way instead of breaking down under the stress of everyday movement. 3 specific exercises can outperform walking because they target the weak points that aging exposes, the areas that walking simply doesn't reach, and the muscle groups that determine whether someone stays steady, strong, and independent or gradually loses control of their mobility. What makes these exercises far more effective is not that they're intense or complicated, but that they directly train strength, core activation, and balance, the 3 pillars that declined fastest after 65. Walking keeps you moving forward in a straight line. These exercises prepare your body for real life, where movement is unpredictable, balance sometimes slips without warning, and strength is needed for rising, lowering, carrying, stabilizing, and reacting quickly when something throws you off. People often think they need long workouts or heavy equipment, but the truth is that the body responds powerfully to simple, targeted exercises when they're done consistently and with the correct form. These exercises outperform walking mainly because they challenge the muscles that walking barely touches. When you walk, the glutes don't fully activate. The quads aren't resisting enough load to grow or maintain strength, and the core is barely engaged because your body is so used to the motion. But when you perform well-chosen exercises that force your muscles to lift, push, hold, and stabilize, you build the protective strength that keeps joints aligned, supports the spine, and prevents falls. For example, one exercise might target the lower body with resistance that strengthens the hips, knees, and thighs. These are the muscles that protect you when you stand up from a chair, catch yourself from a stumble, climb stairs, or lift your body against gravity. Walking never demands enough force to keep these muscles strong, but a few minutes of targeted leg work can make a dramatic difference in how stable and capable you feel during daily activities. Another exercise often recommended by surgeons and therapists emphasizes core strength. The core is more than just the stomach. It includes deep muscles that wrap around the spine like a supportive belt. These muscles are responsible for keeping your lower back safe, helping you maintain good posture, and giving your body the control it needs to bend, twist, reach, and react without straining anything. Walking doesn't strengthen the core in any meaningful way because your body moves too efficiently in that pattern. But when you use an exercise that forces the core to stabilize, such as holding a proper position, controlling your breathing while resisting movement, or engaging your deep abdominal muscles, you protect your spine and dramatically reduce the risk of back pain, which is one of the most common issues after 65. The third type of exercise is designed to challenge balance, and this is where the benefits far outperform walking. Balance declines slowly at first, then suddenly becomes noticeable when someone catches their foot on a step or feels wobbly turning around. Falls don't typically happen because someone was not walking enough. They happen because the stabilizers in the hips, feet, ankles, and core weren't trained to react quickly. Walking is too predictable to train reaction skills. The body moves forward without needing to adapt. But targeted balance exercises force your body to control itself in ways that mimic real-life challenges. They help retrain the brain and muscles to communicate faster, adjust quicker, and stay centered even when the ground, direction, or movement changes unexpectedly. This kind of training dramatically lowers fall risk, and that alone makes these exercises more valuable than miles of walking. Another powerful benefit of these exercises is how efficiently they build strength with minimal time. Walking is endurance-based. It trains your cardiovascular system gently, but doesn't push the body to build the tissue that supports longevity, muscle. These exercises stimulate the body just enough to activate muscle fibers that would otherwise shrink with age. Strength is not only about being able to lift things, but also about keeping your bones dense, your joints stable, and your metabolic health strong. People with more muscle tend to move better, recover faster, and feel more confident in their bodies. And since muscle naturally declines after 65, the ability to build and preserve it through targeted exercise becomes essential. Walking cannot stop that decline, but these 3 exercises can significantly slow it down or even reverse it. Another reason these exercises outperform walking is that they teach the body how to move with better alignment and control. Poor movement patterns like leaning too far forward, locking the knees, shuffling the feet, or swinging the legs incorrectly can develop over time and lead to imbalance and joint stress. Walking with poor form often reinforces these bad habits. But exercises that strengthen stabilizers help you correct posture, improve how your body moves through space, and restore alignment in your hips and spine. This makes every movement safer, smoother, and more efficient. It also reduces strain on the knees and lower back, 2 areas that commonly suffer in older adults who rely solely on walking. People are often shocked at how quickly these exercises improve daily life. Suddenly, getting out of a chair feels easier. Climbing stairs doesn't leave them winded. They feel more stable stepping into a shower or reaching into a cabinet. Their posture improves, aches lessen, and they begin trusting their body again. This confidence matters because fear of falling or fear of pain is enough to make someone reduce movement, leading to even faster decline. These exercises break that cycle by giving the body real stability, not just the appearance of staying active. The key is that these exercises are specific, intentional, and designed to stimulate the exact muscles that protect your independence. They're not random movements or high-intensity workouts. They're simple but powerful and recommended by surgeons who understand the mechanics of aging. When you strengthen your hips, legs, core, and balance systems, you're building the foundation that supports every other movement you make throughout your day. And that's why these exercises outperform walking, because they give the body what walking cannot: the strength to stay upright, stable, and capable long into old age.
These exercises target what walking misses, and that alone makes them far more powerful for anyone over 65. Walking is repetitive, predictable, and limited to a single direction of movement. It keeps the heart lightly active, but it doesn't give the muscles the stimulus they need to stay strong, coordinated, and ready for real-life demands. When you focus on exercises that specifically strengthen the muscles walking doesn't touch, you build a level of physical resilience that walking simply can't offer. The hips, core, glutes, and stabilizer muscles all work differently during targeted strength training than they do during walking. These muscles are responsible for protecting joints, absorbing shock, aligning the spine, keeping balance steady, and generating the strength needed for daily tasks. Without training them directly, the body slowly becomes less stable, less powerful, and more vulnerable, even if someone walks every day. As people age, the first muscles to weaken are often the most important ones for stability. The glutes lose strength, which reduces the ability to stand tall and support the lower back. The hips lose mobility and power, which reduces step confidence and balance. The core becomes less capable of supporting the spine during bending or twisting. The ankles and small muscles in the feet weaken, which affects balance and reaction time. Walking doesn't address any of these issues because the motion doesn't challenge these muscle groups enough. Instead, these areas continue to decline. Targeted exercises, on the other hand, directly wake these muscles up. They apply the right amount of load, tension, and stability challenge to stimulate growth and regain lost strength. Another major area walking fails to address is the capacity to handle sudden changes in movement. Real life is full of unpredictable moments. You step sideways to avoid something, you turn quickly when someone calls your name, you reach overhead for a shelf, you lean forward to pick something up, you balance on one foot while putting on a shoe, or you shift your weight unexpectedly. These movements require coordinated strength from multiple muscle groups, especially the deep core, hips, and stabilizers. Walking never prepares the body for these tasks because the nervous system becomes too accustomed to the simple, repetitive forward motion. But targeted exercises teach your muscles and brain to communicate better. They develop reaction strength, the kind of strength that keeps you from falling when life throws a surprise at you. These exercises also do something walking can't. They help rebuild bone strength. Bones respond to load, impact, and tension. Without these stimuli, bones gradually lose density. This makes fractures far more common after minor slips or small accidents. Walking doesn't provide enough force to strengthen bones significantly, but exercises that involve pushing, lifting, lowering, or holding body weight stimulate bone cells to stay active and strong.
This is why experts always emphasize strength training for older adults. It's one of the few natural ways to slow or reverse bone loss. Another major area walking fails to address is the capacity to handle sudden changes in movement. Walking fails to address needs in terms of joint support. Many people assume joint pain is just a natural part of aging, but in reality, it's often caused by weak muscles that fail to support joints properly. When muscles shrink, joints like the knees, hips, and spine take the load directly. This leads to inflammation, stiffness, and wear over time. Walking doesn't strengthen the supportive muscles around these joints, especially the knees and hips, but targeted exercises do. They strengthen the surrounding muscles so the joints don't take the full force of every movement. As the supporting muscles grow stronger, pressure on the joints decreases. This reduces pain, improves stability, and creates long-term joint health. Surgeons recommend these exercises because they know that a strong muscular system prevents many of the injuries and surgeries they see in older adults. Core strength is another area walking misses. A strong core isn't about having visible abs, it's about having deep support around the spine. These muscles prevent back pain, improve posture, enhance balance, and provide stability for every movement you make. Walking activates the core only at a minimal level. It doesn't challenge the deeper layers responsible for spinal support. When these deeper muscles weaken, everyday activities like lifting a bag, bending forward, or turning sideways can cause strain or injury. This is why people often develop back issues even if they walk daily. Targeted core exercises strengthen these muscles, giving the spine the support it needs to stay aligned and pain-free. Balance is another major area walking doesn't train effectively. Walking is too predictable to strengthen the balance control systems. Good balance comes from strong stabilizer muscles in the feet, ankles, hips, and core. These muscles need challenge and variation to stay responsive. Targeted exercises that include shifting weight, standing on one leg, or controlling movement through different directions stimulate these stabilizers. This kind of training dramatically reduces the risk of falls, one of the biggest threats to independence after 65. When balance improves, confidence returns, and everyday movements feel smoother and safer. Even the mental benefits are different. Walking can clear the mind, but targeted exercises boost confidence in the body itself. When you feel yourself getting stronger, standing taller, moving with more control, that confidence spills into daily life. You move more freely. You stop worrying about losing balance. You take on tasks you avoided before. You feel capable again. Walking doesn't build that same internal strength because it doesn't challenge you in a way that reveals progress, but targeted exercises do. You feel them working, and over time, you notice real improvements in strength, stability, and mobility. What makes these exercises even more effective is how quickly they produce benefits. A few minutes a day can activate muscles that haven't been used properly in years. The body responds fast to the right kind of challenge, even after 65. You don't need heavy weights or complicated routines. You just need exercises designed to strengthen what walking misses. When done consistently, they create a foundation of strength, stability, and balance that supports every other movement you make throughout the day. This is what protects your independence. This is what keeps you moving confidently, and this is what keeps you strong long after walking alone stops being enough.